Calling this meeting to order, the East Brunswick Township Council Agenda Action Meeting for February 25th, 2019. I ask everyone to rise for the Pledge of Allegiance and remain standing for a moment of silence. I pledge
allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Ms. Perry, can you please call the roll?
Councilman McAvoy.
Here.
Councilman Spadafino.
Here.
Councilwoman Sullivan.
Here.
Councilman Wendell.
Here.
Council President Stanley.
Here.
Adequate notice of this meeting has been provided as required under Chapter 231 PL 1975, specifying the time, date, location, and to the extent known the agenda, by posting a copy on the Municipal Building Public Notice Bulletin Board located in the main lobby, providing a copy to the Home News Tribune and Sentinel newspapers, posting a copy on the Township's website, and by filing a copy in the office of the Township Clerk in accordance with the certification which will be entered in the minutes.
Thank you. Moving on to presentations. Tonight there's a presentation from the Public Service Electric and Gas Company regarding the electrical systems upgrades. Anyone from PSE&G can come up, please.
That's right. Go East Brunswick.
Yeah. All right.
Okay, good evening, everyone. Council President Stanley, members of council, Mayor Cohen. Thank you for allowing us the opportunity to be here. My name is Frank Lucchese. I'm Senior Public Affairs Manager at PSE&G. With me this evening, I do have two members of the PSE&G team as well, Jay Kaplan and Kendall Ademijan, who will assist if we have some additional questions. Jay Kaplan will be speaking as well. So over the past year and a half, PSE&G has been making significant investment in infrastructure throughout our entire service territory. So we're replacing and upgrading a lot of aging transmission infrastructure, switching and substations, our distribution network, which is the wood poles that the wood pole lines that you see in the streets that feed our customers, as well as we're replacing bare steel, cast iron mains in our gas distribution network. All of this is being done to improve the reliability to our system and create a safe, reliable, redundant, and resilient network for our customers and to minimize the length of outages. In East Brunswick, we are doing all of the above. The transmission upgrades that you may be aware of is part of our MTB, which is the Metuchen-Trenton-Burlington project that will replace and enhance the transmission backbone from our Metuchen switching station in Edison through East Brunswick, ending at our switching station in Burlington. We will be replacing aging lattice towers with monopole systems and upgrading our service to 230 kV from its current capacity of 138 kV. We are also in the process of upgrading, in some cases, building new sub-transmission stations. Particularly here in East Brunswick, the Harts Lane station will be upgraded in the coming year, scheduled to begin in November 2019 with an in-service date of 2022. This station is a critical station that feeds the customers here from the PSE&G side of the business in East Brunswick. As we upgrade these stations, it is equally important that we upgrade the distribution network, as I mentioned before, the pole lines that serve the customers, and that upgrade is in between our stations. This includes a higher voltage connectivity between the stations and a pole replacement project that will create a network that will allow our stations to now work together, especially in the event of a major outage. We have identified some weaknesses in South Brunswick and East Brunswick, and we'll be constructing a brand-new station in South Brunswick, which we call the Melrich Station. We will need to connect the new Melrich Station to our Harts Lane Station, which is what I want to give you an overview here tonight. So I just wanted to kind of paint the picture for you of what we got going on as a company overall, the fact that we have some minor voltage issues that we're dealing with, which is why we have to construct new and upgrade existing. And in order for us to do that, there's connectivity that we're going in between the stations, which will allow those stations to now communicate. Before, really didn't have that ability to do that, but now we will. So for the Melrich to Harts Lane project, as we're eloquently calling Melrich, it will be a distribution upgrade, which will upgrade and increase the reliability of the Harts Lane station. It'll replace the infrastructure, and that's the poles, wires, and hardware. We'll install lightning protection along that route as well. It'll give us relief from our Plainsboro station and Dye Road. So right now, as I mentioned earlier, we have a little bit of a gap. So this is going to help relieve some of that potential overload on our Plainsboro station, as well as give us relief on our Devil's Brook station, which is on Culver Road. So this is why we're building that Melrich facility in South Brunswick. But again, we need to connect the two. Once that's built, we have to connect it to our Harts Lane station. So for this pole replacement project, which we're talking about tonight, it's a 69 kV project, which is planned to start in May of 2019 this year, and will take approximately 18 months to complete. There is approximately 230 poles that will be replaced in kind and like for like. So those poles that are currently there right now, new poles will be set, the old poles will be removed. So they will be like-for-like replacement, and the poles are taller and in larger diameter. Those poles, the current poles out there are around 45 feet. The new poles are 65 feet. However, 57 feet of that pole is what's exposed as we set those poles a little bit deeper. They are in bigger diameter as well. If you look at the handout that I gave you, if you look, I think on the second, third page, it'll give you a listing of the poles and why we do that. And the reason, Council and Mayor, that we do the higher poles, two major reasons is, A, it must conform to national safety standards, and a higher pole is needed when we're doing an increase of voltage. Currently, it's a 26 kV circuit, and that will increase to a 69 kV circuit. All right, so those, if you can see on those poles there. Also, if you can see from the handout, I provided you a route map of what the engineers are looking to accomplish when they do the connectivity between the station. The route has been engineered, and the streets that we will be working on are Church Lane, Dunham's Corner Road, Riders Lane, and Milltown Road. So those are the 4 roads that we'll be currently working on. Again, approximately 230 poles that we'll be working on that. So I'll kind of stop there if there's any questions before we go on to talk about a little bit of the tree. There is tree removal that has to happen. We've been working side by side with the town. Jay will come up and talk about the tree removal end of it and the trimming that is required. We have been working with your arborist in town, so it's been working very well, but we'll talk about that a little deeper. But from a technical aspect, I'll try to answer them. And by the way, our technical expert is, I'll try to do the best I can. We're obviously on storm duty tonight because of the high winds, and he's back at the shop. Actually, all of us are kind of on storm duty, but between myself and Jay, I think we can manage to answer any technical questions that you may have. So I'll stop there before I bring in our tree person.
The poles that you're going to be replacing, I mean, you're going to go to a 65-foot pole,
Yeah.
which, as you said, would now increase to 57 feet above ground as opposed to the 45 that we're currently?
Correct, yeah. So 45's out, so it'll be 57 that's exposed because we go a little deeper with the 65-footers now. So you're going to have a net of about 12 feet difference.
Still a wooden pole?
Yes, correct. Yeah, it's all new standards.
Pressure
Yeah, it's all new
pole.
standards now, DEP standards.
Not a creosote-based pole?
Yep,
And
they're
then, I guess you'll be replacing them along the same line. So they'll be in different locations now?
So, no, they won't be in different, well, they'll be next to each other, so they'll be in the same line.
Well,
We call-
typically, they would end up on a property line. In the past, it would always, ideally be on a property line. Now it's going to be favoring one side or the other.
Yeah, it'll favor one side or the other, right? It'll be still in that right of way, so if you got one pole set, usually goes right next to it, and so you understand the process as well, and actually you bring up a good point. We set the new poles, transfer the services over. Sometimes you'll see, obviously, if they're poles that are co-owned, if you will, with the other utilities, that'll be with Verizon and with the cable companies, some fiber companies as well. We set the new pole, transfer the services over. When we're done transferring the services, we end up shearing the top of the pole, so sometimes they look a lot shorter, and that gives the indication when we coordinate with Verizon and the cable companies to then come and do the transfer, and then they end up pulling a pole. Sometimes when we put the new pole in, you'll see sometimes we build up a little dirt debris around the base. That is done because once the old pole gets pulled out, that's used to backfill the old.
If I may, typically, I know because I'm in the development business.
Yep, so you know.
When a pole gets replaced or removed, or typically the last one on it is the guy to take it out.
Correct.
Is that still going to be the case here?
That's still the case. We do coordinate with Verizon on that.
Usually Comcast or somebody else is the slow one, and
Yeah,
then we end up looking at a pole for a long time because they typically don't. Do we have a way to put pressure on your company to make certain that these things get done in an expedited fashion, at least the removals?
Councilman
Yeah.
Rendell, I have Frank's number on speed dial.
Which he
Knows
does.
I'm not
I could use
afraid
that.
to use it. Also, I'd like to thank him for today. The poles that came down on Riders Lane, the police called it in right away, which was great. My next call was to Frank, and he got the crews out there pretty quickly. So I'd like to
Well,
just thank you in public
thanks.
for doing that.
to that though, Joe,
We will,
I was going to say he shouldn't be here. He should be out there on the pole, making sure we can open the
Oh,
road.
I give them all the credit out there. Our crews work very hard.
I've worked with Frank for many years, and he knows I'm tenacious.
Right.
And I will keep bugging him until we get those poles resolved.
That's a bigger part of my concern is
Absolutely.
getting the old poles out, because I know that can be, especially when you guys chop the top and all
Yep.
of that, it can be a
And you're
time-consuming
exactly
process
right. Usually the cable company is the last guy off, and they're not too quick to remove.
No,
My
they'll get off,
question for
they'll get
you-
off and then.
Well, I was
then
going to say,
leave the pole
we've
there
been
for a
doing a
while.
good job coordinating with Verizon to go. And again, it's as we start to replace a lot more poles, it does create a little bit of a backlog for them to help
Sure.
keep up with that. But we do I think a pretty good job trying to get them as we coordinate the new projects moving forward.
Currently, I see, at least over the past week, I don't know if anybody else has noticed it, out on Dunham's Corner Road, there has been line work going on, not by your company, maybe by, it looked like a third party was doing the work, adding to those poles.
Adding to
It
ours?
looked like they were putting a new, or replacing a line that's on those poles.
Yeah, they could be replacing some lines. They haven't done, and none of this 69 kV work has been done yet. I'm not sure what's
Right.
going on in Dunham.
It's not,
but I
it's
can
not
find
you.
out.
It's
yeah.
definitely either a cable.
I wonder if it's a
or-
fiber company,
Might be a
perhaps.
fiber
Could be
company.
fiber.
So
the
they're
fiber
out
always
placing
going
fiber on that pole, and they're gonna have to
Yep.
replace it next year or when you're doing this work.
Yeah, or transfer it over. Sometimes Verizon will do it for the cable company. What's interesting is we got two unions that deal with that pole. We're the IBEW, and the Verizon and the cable company are the communication workers, and they can kind of work their own, together. They can't touch our stuff, we can't touch theirs, so that's where a lot of the...
One last question I have that's related to house line services on these poles. If there's underground services or anything going to a pole, that gets
All
all done.
taken care of.
Homeowners have no responsibility for anything.
No
You'll notify
responsibility.
the homeowners that there's going to be an interruption in service or whatever.
I will, and that's great. I will talk about our outreach. We're very proactive on our outreach. I have some material for you guys. I'll kind of close with that,
Similarly,
but
I guess
yes.
when transformers are, because I assume there's transformers on a number of these poles as well.
Correct.
When
Yep.
transformers are transferred, there'll be enough indication to the residents that something's going to happen in 2 or 3 days.
Yes. So any lights, transformers, drop-down services to the homeowners, all that is taken care of by us.
And the Cobra heads are going to be just moved?
Just,
Or are we-
they'll
or
be
are we
replaced. They'll be
changing them
replaced.
While we're out there doing the work, are we changing them to a more efficient?
Well, so it's interesting. We're going through a process right now of an energy efficiency filing and looking at more energy efficient lighting, such as LED. But right now, if it's the updated light, it will be just taken from one pole off to the other. If it's an older light, which most of the older lights, the old sodium lights, are out now, so we're replacing those.
Yeah, I just didn't know
Yeah.
if we were
Yep.
going to go, while we're handling them, if there's an ability to change them all to the LEDs,
Yep. Yeah, hopefully
would
we
be
get that
advantageous.
energy efficiency filing go. We'd
Yeah.
love to get the whole
Sure.
area done in LED for sure.
Thank you.
So, yeah.
Yeah.
Following up on his question, you said third-party vendor is responsible for removing the poles. Is it just the shared poles or all the poles?
So it's the shared pole. So we have a shared pole agreement with
Right.
Verizon, so we're both on it, and that's the agreement that we have. We transfer first, they go second, and it's 99.9% of the time it's Verizon who's pulling the pole. If it's just our facilities on there and nobody else, we'll pull the pole.
So how many, percentage-wise on this route, how many shared poles are there?
Jay, you happen to know?
I don't know the percentage, but I think it's almost all.
Yeah.
All?
A lot of them.
Yeah, I would say the lion's share of them are
Lion's
done
share?
too. Yeah, good.
Okay. Any other questions?
Just one question,
Yeah.
sort of following up on what Jimmy, you might have said you're going to say it later, but how will the residents
Yeah.
know when you're transferring? Are you going to do it via the phone,
Yeah.
via letter?
So no, it's a great question. So Kendall Demijohn, who's here, she does our public outreach, and it's something we've been doing very proactively on all our projects. And I have a copy of the letter. Actually, some of the residents have received a letter for the work that's upcoming, but we do it in a variety of ways, and we do it well in advance of the project. So we'll do. She physically walks door to door with the door knockers and the letter that's inside of there. We do mailings, which I got a copy of that as well, and I do have a copy of the door knocker. We work with Mr. Criscuolo and staff on Nixle calls, Veroli calls. We offer workshops, and then we give you information. We actually have a website dedicated to all the work we have, and there'll be one drop down dedicated to East Windsor, so residents can actually drop down and look at the work that's being done, roads that are completed. They're all color coded and everything. So we do all that. On that letter, there's an 800 number that a resident can call, and that number actually goes right to Kendall, and within a 24-hour period, she'll return that call to the resident if they have any questions, concerns, comments. Again, Jay will come up and talk about tree trimming as well, and removals. But yeah, we have a whole proactive packet. I don't know if you just want to take a quick look. This is a copy of the letter. If you just want to look and pass it down from there. Just one of the sample letters that we use. Actually, Kendall, that one was for this project, right? So this is the actual letter that went out to the
When do you
residents.
see that it's going to happen? Like, do we know, like, approximate dates or anything like that?
Yeah, how far in advance? Come on, you can come up.
It's typically 7 to 10 days prior to start of construction. I'll do the notification. So depending upon, So depending upon, I usually do an intro letter just to kind of establish the project, what we plan on doing, that kind of thing, the duration of the project. And anytime there's an update, if there's a change in construction hours, or if we're going to be working Saturdays, things like that, we would do a Veroli, just so that the residents can get updated information. But we always drive them to the 1-800 number because it does get back to me. And we've gotten some calls back from residents already saying, hey, I have a pole that's closer to the front of my yard. Can you guys potentially move it over? So we're working through those requests as well.
Okay, I appreciate it, thank you.
No problem. Oh, yes, we do.
Thank you. Okay. Any other basic? Okay, good, Councilman.
Would you kindly review for the residents what you mention briefly about lightning protection?
Yes, so on the top of the poles, and again, some of the reason why we go higher is because of the higher voltage, and when we get to that higher voltage level, you'll see at the very top of the pole, we end up putting lightning protection on there, just to protect our equipment, but obviously, creates a grounding mechanism for the system. So we do that on the top. Small, right, Jay? How do you usually tall? They're not that big that go on the top. Height-wise, I'm not 100% sure, but it's not a long, big lightning mass. It's just lightning protection that we add to it.
Because in my neighborhood, that has been the source of the problem, spanning, let's say, let's just use the last 10 years. It's been a lightning strike.
Yeah.
The service that you provide in my neck of the woods is outstanding, and I do want to compliment you from the dais on that. But the lightning, because it could affect not only the infrastructure of what you're talking about, but it could affect people who live close by, especially if you're going an additional 20 feet, right? You're going up to 65, you're going to 57, so you're comfortable sharing with our community that everything is safe on that.
Correct, yes. Yes, and I know when we brought the station upgrade, I know we're talking more about the 69 kV, which is the pole relocation project, but we're actually upgrading Hart's Lane Station as well, which is really the critical station here in East Brunswick. And after Superstorm Sandy, we had we got exposed on some issues that we had. I think everybody, a lot of our infrastructure got exposed to an element like that, and addressing the upgrade and the need to upgrade the station at Hart's Lane was critical. So I know when we brought the project to Joe just to do a preliminary overview, and that's what we like to do a lot. We'll bring it into administration, get your eyes on it, take a look at it, comment on it, and kind of build off of that. But I think it was a relief that we're going to start really working on upgrading the reliability and the resiliency to that station, because it's only going to benefit the customers and your residents.
Thank you.
Any other questions? I'll bring Jay up. We'll talk a little bit about the trimming that's involved.
All right, thank you. So in conjunction with the pole replacements, since there are bigger poles and it's a higher voltage, we need additional clearance from the trees. Trees are the number one reason for outages nationwide, not necessarily at PSE&G. I just want to point that out. But it is the reason nationwide, so it is an issue. This is going to include larger clearances on the trees and a lot of removals as well. Now, for the removals, we are replacing the trees that we remove. If it's a privately owned tree, we're working with the property owner to decide what kind of tree they would like. If they want it in the same general area, it has to be utility friendly, so something that doesn't grow too tall, preferably 25, 30 feet. So dogwoods, redbuds, hawthorns, lilacs, those kind of trees will be acceptable. We've ridden the route actually with, I'm going to say his last name wrong, so I'm going to apologize now, Russ Baczynski, who's the town arborist. We've ridden the route with him, and we've reviewed all of the municipally owned trees. The ones that we're going to remove, we're going to replace. We'll work with Russ to decide where they go. Again, same thing. If they're going to be in the same general area, they'll be utility friendly. Also, not every resident who we remove a tree for wants a replacement. So in that case, we will be giving the town that replacement tree. So the town won't be down any trees. So if a resident says, I want the tree gone, but I don't want a replacement, I'm tired of cleaning up leaves or acorns or whatever the reason may be, we'll give that tree to the town. We've done a lot of our notifications already, and we have 18 of those so far. So 18 extra trees will be going to the town for y'all to decide what to do with. Yeah.
If I may, Council President?
Sure.
I guess you've been working on Milltown Road lately, because I hear chip trucks going. I know you do, Sharon. It's close to your house. The one thing I would urge, if we're going to take a tree out of a curb strip, what we typically do in new developments is push them back. The replacement trees get pushed back behind the sidewalk, and I would like to see that we could urge people to do that. I mean, I know you're getting more out of the township right away and more onto residents' properties, but it gets away from the problem of a heaving sidewalk or even interfering with the lines, and you guys end up coming through every 2-3 years and chipping up a tree, chewing up a tree just so you can get your,
Yeah.
proper clearances. So, I'm sure that's something that Mike Reisner would be, pushing to do. He's spoken about it numerous times, and I'm sure Keith and everybody else. We're getting our engineering staff and everybody else involved with this?
Yeah, when we met with Mr. Lucchese and his entire team, there was probably a dozen of them there that day. We went over those exact items about tree replacement, trimming, if people want them, don't want them, the whole door. We spent well over 2 hours.
I think personally,
discussing.
we all as much as we possibly can, would like to see the street trees because it does provide nice cover
Sure.
and shade for the streets. I would just like to, see that we urge the residents to take them back, and if when we do replace them, urge them to have them behind the sidewalk line so that we can have them away from an area that's going to cause heaving sidewalks and all the other problems that are encountered.
Yeah, that's no problem. We'll obviously it's their property.
Of course.
So we'll have to get the okay from
Right.
them. So as long as they agree to it, it's no problem. It's fine by us. It's all the same to us, really.
And you're replacing them with what size caliper tree?
Oh, typically it's 2 to 2.5 inch.
Okay.
We don't really like to go any smaller than that.
Right.
We do go up to 3.5 if we can't find anything in 2.5 inch caliper. The tree plantings will be done in 2 different planting seasons, both the spring and the fall. There's just too much work to be done in one season.
You wouldn't be placing watering bags on them or anything like that?
Oh, we'll place gator bags, and we'll give it the
okay.
initial watering. After that, it'll be up to
Sure.
either the town or the resident to take care of the tree. Yeah, so they'll get the gator bag, and then the town keeps those after we're done. Yeah.
So the people on Milltown Road were already informed with letters like the one, like this
Yes, so they
letter already?
were mailed a letter, and they were also notified. So tree trimming does its own separate notification on top of the construction, because we usually go in first so they can actually set poles. So they've all received a door card, and they've all been talked to.
And I guess the pink ribbons, if I'm not mistaken, are the ones that are getting,
Yeah, so we don't like to spray paint trees in the beginning until we have actually talked to a customer, because you can't take the spray paint off like you can a ribbon. So once we've talked to the customer, we'll take the ribbon off and put a little red dot on the
okay.
base to notify removal. But we won't do that until we've actually talked to them. Yeah. Yeah.
While you're doing this section of town, are you looking into any other sections for tree removal? Because I've noticed a lot of lines with a lot of heavy leaning trees on them, so.
Yeah, so actually,
looking into
we've
that?
been working with Russ. He's been pointing out locations and some trees that he would like to see gone. And while we're working in town, we're going to work with him to get rid of those trees as well. Particularly near the corner of Dunham Corners Road and Riders, there are several trees not involved in the project that they've been trimmed over the years, and they look pretty terrible, to be honest with you. There's no getting around it. He asked if we would be willing to remove those and replace, and we agreed to. So, but there's some other trees as well. That's just one example.
Probably got a bunch of ash trees.
Yeah, they're gonna
Yeah, actually, thanks for
yeah?
bringing that up. If
Really?
it is an ash tree, we're just automatically removing it.
Yeah.
There is no trimming of ash anymore.
Absolutely.
So,
With the ash boards.
yeah.
That's anywhere in town, or?
No, just along the route. But if
nice try.
Nice try.
but we've talked to Russ and we've offered assistance. So if there is an ash near the power lines, if it's not along the route, we'll help remove it. So, yeah.
Okay.
Very
But
good.
we're not going to remove every ash. Sorry. Any other questions for tree trimming?
No.
thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, I think that's my story, and I think I'm going to stick to it. But I want to echo Council President and members of Council, obviously Mayor Cohen. We got a fantastic working relationship with East Brunswick. We sincerely appreciate all your support. Working with Joe, and I know he echoed it before, but we communicate very well together. He does have me on speed dial, trust me. But we communicate well together. Members of your Public Works, Keith Kipp, just very open, and we figure things out. There's always give and take, but I sincerely appreciate the relationship that we have with East Brunswick, sincerely. But it is a pleasure working with the town. So anytime you need updates on any projects, obviously I give Joe, I always try to give him information that he can post or have available in case he gets calls, and obviously, Mayor, you get the calls from the constituents. But we always try to keep on top of that as well. All right,
Fantastic.
So one last question.
Yeah.
Same in line with what I asked the other gentleman. Being that you're working on this project here, have you surveyed any other places in East Brunswick that might need replacement or in need of replacement, or do you have any future projects or things going on where you're going to come back into town to take care of other areas of need within East Brunswick?
Are you talking electric or gas or both?
Electric.
Yeah, electric. It's always right now. This is what's been approved. There's always projects on the drawing board. We have to go through, like anything else, an approval process with the Board of Public Utilities before we expend any funds on that. But as we start to develop the station, the whole idea is really to interconnect them. And as it's just kind of free flowing through the process, and as we do that, then the routes are designed to like I mentioned before, interconnect those. So right now, that's what we have on there. We do have a gas project that is that we sat and met with. We'll have some areas, quite a bit of areas in town that will be seeing their bare steel and old cast iron mains, although working very well. They've reached their age limit, so we'll be replacing them with high efficiency plastic. That's a process that'll go on, but again, we've been working with the town just, from a notification process and a preparation. That's not 100% set yet. We have an idea of where we're at, the streets, but once we get that all wrapped up, it's probably going to start sometime in the mid-spring. But yeah, anytime we have projects like that, we do it. And by the way, you mentioned about trees before. We do just our division, who manages the East Brunswick on a daily basis. They do have a cycle that they go around and do trimming on their own when it's not project related. So there is a 4-year cycle that they go on, and they do a lot of the tree trimming around the area.
Excuse me, Council President.
Sure.
You mentioned the gas.
Yeah.
And you're not really 100% certain as to where you're going with that, but it's going to start sometime in the spring. Would you be coming back and just making a presentation like this to council?
If you'd like me to come back, not a problem at all.
I think information to the residents and letting people know that there's improvements coming to the town, not only those affected residents, that are affected by it being their neighborhood, but we realize so many roads in East Brunswick are cut-through roads. I think it would be wise that we just did a little session like this on the gas upgrade as well.
And what we normally do, and we've done it here in East Brunswick before, we did do a gas project prior to this, but we had a public workshop that we invite members of the public in the area that are going to do it. But if you want me to come back to council and talk about that as well, I don't have an issue with that.
And to that point, though, is there any way, and I'm asking Joe, but we can get EBTV to just cut this segment of this meeting and we can get it up on Facebook or YouTube or the township website so that people can be understanding, that the other council people can share it on their page so that everybody knows what's actually going on.
I just got the thumbs up.
Just because people may want to watch the whole meeting, but if we just had this as a segment that we could share and put out there, I think it would be good.
No problem. Yeah. We have done some gas work before. We had some work in 2017. We did a decent amount in town. The proposed work is double the size, but no problem at all. Yeah, I'll coordinate that, Joe, through you.
Is this the gas work, is this in conjunction with all the individual home meters that are being changed also at PSE&G?
So when we do, the main replacement, we also replace all the service laterals that go to each of the homes. So they get brand new service that goes to there, and it's all high pressure system. So now they can get energy efficiency appliances. From a safety perspective, it's fantastic because it shuts down a lot quicker and does not allow water to penetrate it, which is really what drives the gas people crazy. Trees drive the electric people crazy. Water drives the gas people crazy. So they'll get all new services. Now, when we do the services to the homes, we're not digging up their property. The pipe is actually the plastic pipe is actually smaller and gets inserted through the existing service feed that goes to the property. If they do have a meter that's on the inside of the house, It is now from a safety standpoint, the board has given the authority to remove those meters and put them onto the outside of the property. And we work with the property owners on that, usually right where the gas comes in. If the meter was there, it just kind of goes on the outside now. But we're not tearing up anybody's lawn. Sometimes as we do the work, sidewalks will get cracked and curbs will get cracked and whatnot, but we come back and we replace all that just as good, if not better, as we found it.
2 PSI gas now?
It is, yeah, I'm not sure the PSI gas. You know what the gas level is? I'm not sure. That I'm not sure.
No, I
yeah, it's high, yeah.
Lots
yeah, it's a
smaller,
higher pressure, yeah. It's
1
a higher
PSI
pressure.
and 2 PSI allows you
Now, there's
to put
some
a lot
people
more
that are
gas.
actually getting there, we call them uprates. There's some people currently that from the 2017 work, there was an area, maybe about 10 residents, where the gas main was newer, so it didn't have to be replaced, but we replaced all around them, and we found that their pressures dropped a little bit, so we call it uprates. So we had to uprate their pressure. That was going on about maybe a week or two ago, that those pressures were getting uprated. That's what we call them, uprates. But the new stuff's not starting until later spring. And again, I will coordinate it with that, Joe, and be glad to make a presentation to you about that as well.
Great.
Thank you. One last question.
Yeah.
In East Brunswick, is that the only substation on Harts Lane?
Harts Lane is the only substation for us in East Brunswick.
Okay.
Yep. You got a few around you, and we're building a couple new, so it's going to interconnect them pretty good. And as you know, we were kind of a split territory here in East Brunswick. So we have our colleagues of JCP&L that also supply to you.
Okay. All right, thank you, sir.
Okay, that's it. I thank you very much for your time and appreciate it. All right, thanks.
Have a good night. Okay, moving on. Seeing there's no agenda session tonight, nothing on the agenda, and also nothing for public hearing, we're going to go straight to the report section. Any reports from the mayor tonight?
Yes, Council President, thank you. I want to congratulate East Brunswick residents Charlie Wachtel and David Rabinovich. Does anybody know who they are? Yeah. Because you should. They won Oscars last night for Best Adapted Screenplay for Black Klansman, and they are 2005 graduates of the East Brunswick school system. So we are very proud of their achievement, and I wanted to make sure that we mentioned that, and hopefully they can come back to East Brunswick with those gold statues so we could all get a look at them. I also wanted to mention that I know it's been in the paper, Metro Diner is going to be opening up next week in East Brunswick. It's in the Route 18, right, 269 Route 18, right in front of the Asian market, and they are offering on Saturday, March 9th, opportunities to make a reservation and food purchases. All the proceeds are going to be going to the Elks Club for their Camp Moore program for special needs students. So I wanted to make mention of that because, one, we're happy that there's a new restaurant here in town. Any new business in town is certainly a good thing, and it helps us restore the vitality of the East Brunswick commercial corridor. But I think it's also a extraordinarily good cause that they're donating to. So for those who would like to make reservations, the number is online, and I encourage you to do so. That's all I have tonight, Council
Mayor
President.
Cohen.
Thank you.
Nothing to see there.
Nothing, sir? From law?
Nothing this evening.
From our clerk?
Nothing.
Any council, committee, board? Councilman?
Yes. Tomorrow evening, the marijuana forum will be at the Community Arts Center. And that forum is not going to be if it should be legalized or not be legalized, but if it is legalized, how the community will relate to it. You'll be able to ask questions. There'll be a guest speaker. Doors open at 6:30, and the forum will begin promptly at 7. Fast Break is having, and everyone's cordially invited to attend, the big game, which is with the pals and the buddies on this Saturday, and it's the 12th annual. It's one of the, unfortunately, I'm not going to be able to make it this year. I have to go to a class, but I hope that everyone can. It's at, again, March 2nd, which is Saturday, at 2 o'clock at Churchill Junior High School, and it's free. Come, you'll make everybody happy, and you'll walk out happy as well. Also, the new Recreation Spring Bulletin is out. You could sign up for courses. There's recreation, there's a new tennis team in town. And you can sign up for other things. There's arts, there's lots of different things. You could find this online, and you could sign up at https:/registration.eastbrunswick.org, or you can call up at 732-390-6797. And I'm also going to tell you my office hours for tomorrow. It has nothing to do with recreation, but it'll be from 2 to 4 o'clock. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else? Okay. Moving on to the public portion. Please state your name and address for the record. Limit your comments to 5 minutes. Address all your comments to the chair. At this time, I want to call up Ronnie Lee to the podium.
Good evening, Council President, Council members, Mayor Cohen, Township leaders. Thank you for your service.
Love the spirit.
Well, you taught me well. So I'm Ronnie Lee. I reside at 19 St. George's Road. Resident for 34 years. We have a business in East Brunswick. My husband has a dental practice here. I wanted to thank you for the opportunity to express gratitude to East Brunswick, especially Mike Reisner, who has given us opportunity and tennis enthusiasts to grow our tennis, especially when I came here 3 years ago, 2016, requesting for improvements of Bicentennial Park. And Jim Wendell was very crucial in implementing the going forward to repair that crack court with frogs living in the courts. So amazing change, you know, when you talk about plan, purpose, and progress. So now it's my second time to appear before you to give you gratitude because you've given us Bicentennial Park as the asphalt, 4 tennis courts there, 2 matted tennis courts at Lenape that were improved with the addition of pickleball. And then now with the anticipated future of 2 post-concrete tennis courts, which are faster paced at Community Park. So we're looking forward to that in summer. But in the meanwhile, we also have been through application with Dave Lonsky as the president of Recreation Parks Advisory Board. Is he here? I wanted to give gratitude to him to give us a way for East Brunswick youth tennis to exist, because there has been concerns when some of the youth who are here, some of them, to not be able to play on the public courts because of private instructors using their time on public courts. So I was wondering how that ordinance is going for commercial concerns. But now that we are a coalition of athletic organization, it's been approved by Mayor Cohen, Nanette Perry. So we want to give you our gratitude, and I want to introduce Kanchan Karki. She's our president of East Brunswick Youth Tennis. I wanted to also give gratitude to Dave Blonsky, who's not here. Well, so I'll take their presence. And Mike and Rick are at a conference, professional conference relating to their career at Atlantic City. So I will take their presence back, right? But we also have a young artist who, Smita. Smita is our young artist that we wanted to give congratulations to. Thank you kindly. Because she is the fantastic artist who developed this icon for us.
Thank you.
And we'll give you your present. If you want to see how you came up with the design.
No.
All right. Thank you very much. And then I'm going to give you the council. Your goodie bags. You're cheering on our district.
Thanks, Ronnie.
There,
Thank you.
because he gets the lifesavers, because he's the lifesaver. Our business gentleman Joe for approving budget. Thank you, I haven't met you, but thank you very much. Jim Wendell.
Thank you so much, Brian.
Okay, council, residents.
Thank you.
You like the healthy treats, right?
Yes, very good. Oh,
Thank you very much, council.
What's that?
I want to ask Brownie one question.
Township Parky, she's our new president of this group.
Ronnie, while you're there, I know with the start of pickleball, there's a lot of people in the town that would like to learn. So if you could bring that back to the board, and maybe you could set some clinics up so that we can have dates.
Is registering in our bulletin book. So we have classes. That's on Tuesday and Thursday if you want to join the league. Wednesday night from 5 to 7 is a drop-in for free. So please come, everyone.
Good.
It doesn't matter. We'll teach you right there for
You
free.
don't have to bring it, you have the rackets.
We have the 8 rackets, we have the paddles and the balls, and we just come and join us with your spirit. So pickleball and tennis.
Thank you.
What was the drop-in time? What was the drop-in time, Wednesday?
The drop is Wednesday, and see, we have 6 new pickleball courts that are at Community Park because they took over the 2 tennis courts. So now that the skate park is gone, we'll have 2 new ones on the top.
What's the time?
What time?
Wednesday is 5 to 7, and then on Tuesday and Thursday, if you go into the book, I guess we have leagues. And then we're gonna have a pickleball tournament, so we're growing the pickleball community. Just refer back to, as Sharon said, our recreation book.
I should have said you could get a hard copy too, if you're not, well, I look on the computer. They're at the library and the municipal office.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Hi, my name is Kanchan Karki, and I'm a resident of 8 McGinnis, East Brunswick, for the past 8 years. I have 2 kids, Naomi and Ronit, who are sitting right there. They are ages 13 and 11. I was going to say 8. Never mind. For the past 8 years, East Brunswick schools and the East Brunswick sports organizations have played a very important role in their lives. Making them socially active and keeping them athletic. So they played soccer, the East Brunswick soccer and baseball, softball. But they picked up tennis eventually. So when Ronnie and we all were talking, we thought, and because of our experience with the sports organizations in East Brunswick, we got inspired and we wanted to start something for the youth, for the next generation, for the little ones, so that they can start off playing tennis exactly the same way like my kids picked up soccer. So why tennis was important for them and how it helped them. I would want to introduce my daughter Naomi Karki, and she can share a little bit more on her experience with this one. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Naomi. I'm a 13-year-old and I'm currently in the 8th grade at Churchill Junior High School. I began playing tennis at the age of 4 years old, and I've continued playing it over the years for many reasons. It's given me the privilege to travel around the country and meet new friends, learn from new coaches, which is an opportunity not many kids receive. And I've learned 2 important lessons from playing tennis, very important life lessons that I feel every kid should know. One is that everything you do, no matter what, you should always try to have a positive perspective on it. And the second is that in everything you do, you should always put 100% into it. So tennis is a very is a very it's a hard sport. It's very hard mentally, and because you can't win every single point in a tennis match, just as in life, you're not going to do well on every single test or achieve every goal that you might set. And it's very important to know that even if you don't meet the goals that you've set for yourself, you should still have a positive mindset about it, use it to motivate you to do even better next time. And sometimes in tennis, you know, once every kid reaches a certain level, and this is not just tennis, but this can be applicable to any other sport as well. Once every kid reaches a certain level, you know, every kid is good. Everyone has a basic skill set, and what makes a difference in a match or a tournament to win in the finals or maybe win the last few points of a tennis match is that little extra bit of hard work that you put in off the court or behind the scenes in the weight room, wherever it is. Maybe you're doing 10 push-ups, and instead of slacking off on the last 5, you decide to do all of them with full form. And it may be a little bit harder to do, but in the end, it's worth it. And these are just 2 lessons that I've learned from playing tennis. There are obviously many more, and I really hope that by introducing this program into the town, other kids can try tennis and learn from it and maybe come up with their own realizations about the sport that can be useful to them in their lives as well. Thank you.
Hi, I'm Jack Wong. I'm 14 years old, and I am in 9th grade. I started playing at the age of 5 years old at Country Lane Park here in East Brunswick. At that time, it taught me a lot of experiences and lessons that lasted me up to this point in my life. Some lessons I learned were learning how to lose graciously and still being a good sport about it, because at that time I was very frustrated when losing, but I still kept my a cool head and still was able to be a good sport about it. The second lesson I learned was hard work. At the time, I was very lazy, and I thought that it came naturally. But as I grew older, I learned that to produce the results I wanted, you have to put in the effort to do so. And the third thing I learned was to still have fun, because at the time, I took it so seriously that I couldn't focus. But as I grew older, I learned that I have to relax a little bit to enjoy the sport I love most.
Thank you very much. This is a great achievement for the Parks and Recs Department. It shows you what great employees we have and directors we have, and also we have a very good Parks and Rec board as well. Councilman Wendell started the initiative a couple of years back to start, by getting Bicentennial Park off the ground, and it shows you, and hands off and kudos to you guys too, because they can do all they want, but it's actually the volunteers that step up that make the difference. And all of you parents as volunteers who step up to these different leagues, different programs to make it work. And this is what makes East Brunswick so great, is that we have so many different programs here. That book itself shows you how many different programs that East Brunswick offers its residents through the Parks Department. And I think every family in town should take advantage of it and get to know what's going on in East Brunswick, either through the Parks Department, through the administration, through the library, through some sort of form of connection. And this is a great night, I think, for you guys to come out here and share your enthusiasm, share your victory, share, what you've achieved. And it's great to see these young kids share their life lessons with us. I thank you for that. I appreciate you guys coming down. Is there anyone else from the public right now who wants to speak?
One thing, maybe Ronnie wants to get up quickly and just mention, I see on this, kids ages 5 and above, you have different programs, and then 5 to 10. Just for people, I know you're in the process of a registration drive, so maybe you want to give a little plug to who can come up, join up and what they can.
To Trilok Karki.
Right.
I think about 10 years ago.
Just for the record, identify who you are.
Oh, sorry. My name is Trilok Karki. I'm dad of Naomi and Ronit. I live in 8 McGuinness Street. So I think we have board members Bolan and Shiv and Ronnie and Kanchan, my wife. But I've been working with the coaches to figure out, what program do we need to organize for the kids. About 10 years ago, USCA started these colored balls, and we are actually in US a little behind in what happened in Europe 20 years ago, right? So there are these red and orange balls that don't bounce that much, so it makes for 5-year-olds and 6-year-olds to pick up the sport a little more easier. The courts are a little smaller, the nets are a little smaller, so it makes more fun as opposed to make it very challenging for kids, right? So what we are thinking is there are going to be 2 age groups. 5 to 9 that are going to play with the red and the orange balls, and the kids who are a little older and taller and who are a little faster, they can play with the green dot ball. The green dot ball is actually still an intermediate to the yellow ball that you see in TV, right? So it helps the kids to play more rallies, have more rallies. The more rallies you have, the more learning will happen, right? So we are adopting from what is advised by USCA. And I think for my kids, it was a little late. When they started playing, there was no red ball, orange ball, right? But every program in town, everywhere in New Jersey, they are introducing this program. So we wanted to also make it available to our town kids as well. Thank you.
Thank you. Yes.
Troy Bailey, 14 Sanasky Street, East Brunswick, obviously. Good evening. Just wanted to ask a quick question. Didn't realize that the final vote was 2 weeks ago. I just wanted some further information about that $15 million that was bonded out 2 weeks ago for the redevelopment agency. I was wondering, get a little more information about that.
I can take that question. It was just an authorization to bond to buy property. It was not, we're not selling any bonds yet. What this board here did is authorize the redevelopment agency to go out and purchase property if need be. Ideally, we're not going to purchase anything, but the developers will purchase it. But for us to show those developers that we're serious about moving forward on those properties, we had to have an authorization to spend money should we need to purchase property and then get reimbursed from the developers that will be building those projects.
And was there any reason for those designated lots that were designated for those bonds?
It was the first section that we're looking to redevelop. Okay. It was, those lots are already in the designated redevelopment zone, and they were for area 3A primarily, and that's why those parcels were chosen. It's the first parcel that's actually going to probably get done.
Because in the plan was the proposed parking structure that the township would own, would that be on Ruth Street though, like on the other side of the parcels?
There's still a number of different places where the parking structure can be. Right now we're not completely certain. When the developer is designated, then we'll see what the developer comes up with. And at this point, I can't talk about the specific plans as the redevelopment agency is still vetting out the different plans and the different developers.
Do you know when we would get like a concrete idea of what the final
What the concept will be?
Yeah.
Probably before the end of March.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Yes.
Hi, my name is Constance Belitsky. I'm from Summerhill Road. I want to talk about Order 19-3, the bond ordinance that East Brunswick Township providing financing by the township on behalf of the redevelopment agency for the acquisition contract. or eminent domain or lawsuits, because you have lawsuits, I know you do. And it says that the property owners are responsible for the bond issue and interest when it comes due. Now, did you ask me if I'm gonna pay and if I'm gonna approve this? I'm a property owner. I don't want to pay for any of this. I'm a property owner. Was I asked? Was anybody asked? Was he asked? No. How do you handle that? We have tremendous school expenses in this town. I have a lawyer too, and he's my friend yet. And on top of that, if you're using this bond to buy property, you know, buy out these dead owners, are you going to make it profitable that that money will be used to pay the bond and the interest? Why should the homeowners be saddled with this?
As I said to the previous gentleman, the plan is not to purchase these properties and hold on to them. The plan is to purchase them and flip them right to the developers that are going to be building those properties. We're not going to be selling bonds and holding on to money, nor do we have any intent to buy property and hold on to property.
Right.
We're not going to assemble properties and hold on to them. That's not the intent. The intent is to purchase a property and flip it right to a developer.
Okay, so when you flip it, that money goes towards the money you borrow.
The money, there, actually on our agenda tonight is an interlocal agreement between the agency and the redevelopment agency and the township that primarily specifically states, as we do with all other interlocal bonding agreements with the school board, the fire districts, the rescue squad, everyone else, that there's a responsibility to pay that money back. So the agency who will be beneficiary of those bonds has a responsibility to repay the governing body for that money.
Of course, I know bonds have to be paid back, so does the interest. But when you flip the property, are you going to use that money to bring down the 15 million?
The intent is ideally not to even sell the bonds, but have the property, the developers reimburse the township immediately.
Okay,
So,
all right, just checking.
yeah.
You know, I don't want my house to go for $10.
I know, Connie, I know. We want your house to go for more.
Me too.
And if those properties sit vacant and dilapidated for much longer, it's going to affect all of our property values. It is currently. Those properties aren't paying their fair share of tax right now.
No, I understand. I mean, it's sitting there dead.
Sure.
And it's an eyesore.
That's what redevelopment's for. We need to get it back to an asset that is paying its fair share of tax and not burdening the rest of the single-family homeowners in town.
And you're going to take care of the lawsuits also out of that.
There is no lawsuits against the redevelopment agency.
No?
There are no lawsuits against the redevelopment
Okay.
agency.
Okay.
Correct? I don't believe the redevelopment agency. Right, they're against the township, not the redevelopment agency.
They're township lawsuits?
Yes.
That means that's not good either. Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
You make me get dressed. My
Well,
hands are falling down.
very nice to see you here, though.
Oh, you know you love me.
Anyone else from public wishing to speak?
Thank you for
Seeing none, I'm closing the public portion. Okay, moving on to the agenda, consent agenda session. We are pulling item B for a future date.
You can put it on for the next meeting.
Is there any other items that needs to be pulled by council? Seeing none, can I get a motion for the following item A and then item C through item R?
Move to adopt.
Motion by Councilman Wendell. Can I get a second?
Second it.
Second by Councilwoman Sullivan. Ms. Perry, can you please call the roll?
Sure. Council McAvoy?
Yes.
Councilman Spadafino?
Yes.
Councilwoman Sullivan?
Yes.
Councilman Wendell?
Yes.
Council President Stanley?
Yes. Moving on, seeing there are no ordinances for March 11, 2019, and no new business for tonight, we're going on to the good of the cause. Does anyone have anything to say for the good of the cause? Councilman McAvoy.
What can we expect from the fire district defeat of their
budget?
Their budget. So
Yes.
what is the procedure here?
Right, we've received notification to the clerk's office. We have requested some additional data from the fire district over the last several years of their audits, their budgets for the current year going forward. And on the next council agenda on March 11th, a notice has been sent to the fire districts to make a presentation to us on their actual budget. When we receive that data on the actual audits and budgets over the last several years, the clerk and I will get together, we'll put that together and disseminate it out to the council. At this current point, I'll be taking a look at the budget itself, along with the finance officer, and then reach out to the council to see what their wishes are at that time. There's certain statutorily required activities, including that presentation from the fire districts to us within 30 days. We're also required to take action within those 30 days as well. So I believe the March 11th date will be the night that we also will need to be able to take action. And I will continue to work with the township clerk when we get that information to get it out to the council, and then work with the council president on how he would like to proceed with the council to make any recommendations, if any, for reductions in that budget or to leave it as is. And that's certainly the prerogative of the council itself to make that decision. This is no different than when years ago the school board budgets would get defeated. It comes to the council for consideration. So, that's the process we'll be following. It is clear by statute how the process is, and we'll continue to work through that process. And as soon as we get the data, we'll be happy to get it out to all the council members.
I recall the Board of Education process well. So we're just following that process for my recollection.
The attorney to comment.
Yes, it's pretty much an identical process.
What is day 30? What is the date of day 30?
March,
That this has to be.
probably the election was February the 16th, so there's only 28 days, so probably March the 18th would be the 30th day.
Wouldn't it go by
we only have a meeting on March the 11th, and our meeting after that is March
Calendar
the
days or business
25th.
days?
It's calendar.
Calendar days?
Hang on, if I may, Councilman Wendell. So we have a March 11th meeting to be introduced by the fire department to this budget, and then we are going to have to discuss this, whether it's in public or in closed session, and then we're going to have to make a decision before March 16th, Nanette?
Yes.
And I'm fine with that, as long as the council president understands this process.
Hold on. Wouldn't it go by the date that it was certified?
No, I believe it's the date of the
Because
actual, the way
they had
it wrote.
mail-ins and everything else, and they weren't
The
counted.
way it wrote, the way the statute wrote, I believe it's 30 days from the date of the election.
Yeah, it says within 30 days after the annual election and after a public hearing in which the legal voters of the fire districts were given 5 days of advertising. So we
Which
couldn't
I
have
have
done
to
it.
put it in the paper,
We couldn't have
so.
done it for this evening, and we certainly haven't gotten the data that we requested from them yet to do anything.
But we were only notified of this last week.
Well, the election was only the 16th.
I believe it was Friday when we got noticed.
Right. I'm just saying,
The only other
to
thing.
your point,
would be
Mr.
to have
McAvoy, I
a
mean-
special meeting.
Yeah, we
Constraint.
We're going to have a presentation.
On the
We may
11th?
have questions that we have. I don't know if we can get this done without having maybe a special meeting to vote.
And that would be on the 18th. And that would be,
18th?
well, that's the next, unless you wanted to do it off a Monday night. The 11th is our meeting. And then,
I think we should at least prepare for a special meeting.
Yes.
At this point.
That's fine.
that's fine. Do you want me, because I have to notice the papers, do you want me to just put something out there? Do you want it on Monday
It's
the
the council
18th, or do you
president.
want it?
It's up to the council president. but I
Correct.
mean,
Our next meeting is 2 weeks from now, it's 11th, right?
Right.
We can't get an extension at all?
And then
No.
Monday after that, so it's 18th.
It's okay.
So we have to have a special meeting on the
The
18th.
net need to notice the papers as well as when they come in for their presentation. So she noticed them for the 18th to do that presentation, am I correct?
The 11th.
The 11th is when they're going to do the presentations.
11th, they would have to do the presentation, but we'd have to vote by the 18th, right?
Okay.
Right.
The
So
30th
when
day?
would you like to?
30th day. So do you want to have the meeting, what I'm asking is if you want to continue on the following Monday, is the 18th. And
I
if you
think there's a
want, you can just
redevelopment
have a
agency
special
meeting that
meeting
night.
for
Right.
just doing the fire election, for the
Just for
fire
the
budget.
18th?
For the 18th for the budget. But I have to notice the paper, so I have to know tonight
Can-
if you're going to have the special meeting.
It's a
Bless you.
redevelopment agency that meeting that night.
Can we have an extended session on 11th?
I just don't know. I mean, if they're presenting a budget, I don't know about you, but I'm going to want to go home, make sure I get my
Think about
research
it,
done.
right.
You know, maybe talk to people. You know,
Because we have an
Wait, what?
agency meeting on the
18th.
on the 18th,
You want
may I
like 7
suggest the
7
19th at 8 p.m., which is a Tuesday.
to that we do 7 p.m. here.
No, but
That's
that's
after
after
the
30
30 days.
30 days.
You said 30 days is 16.
No, 30 days is probably the 18th. I don't know, because there's 28 days in
Right.
February, so you add 2 more, you get 30, so the 16th, 17th, 18th.
So we can vote
Can
on
you
the-
have it, you can have it any other night. We just normally carry over to the Monday because everybody has,
Right.
you have planning board, somebody has zoning. Is there anything going on the 13th? Is 2 days enough to review
Planning
it?
board is,
Thursday.
Planning board, okay.
What about Thursday?
the 12th is also planning board, the 12th and the 13th will be
What
planning
about the
board.
14th then?
No,
Thursday, the 14th?
Thursday the 14th.
That looks fine.
Would that be
We'd
enough
have to
time?
see if there's court, but
Would that be
Could I-
enough?
There's no court on Thursday
Would
night.
that be enough
I'm
time?
good. I'm good for the
Thursday?
14th.
Be fine by me.
I just think voting the
Yeah.
same night of the presentation is
No.
not wise.
Right.
Okay, so then if we'll plan for a special meeting to do I'll notice the paper for March the 14th.
Will we have this room that night? Is there zoning or anything that night?
zoning's the 7th.
Okay.
Would I be able to call in, because I'm going to be out of town that night?
Sure.
Okay,
Okay, so then we'll move, that one will go to March the 14th.
14th?
For the final thing, okay. The
I
11th
mean,
will
listen,
still
if
be
it-
the presentation.
I don't know about you, Mac, but if everybody's satisfied that night and we can vote that night, then fine, we vote on the 11th. But
agree.
I think we should prepare.
Right.
I
To have
agree,
another
and
meeting.
then I'll.
That's why I brought
this
it up.
way It'll be all
Very
noticed.
good.
Okay,
To that point, though, Kevin bringing all this up, it's a great point. I was speaking with Nanette earlier. I would really like to see 2 previous years' budgets from them.
Oh, okay.
You know, I'd like them to supply us with a budget from the 2 previous years.
Yeah, we've already sent them the letter. Ms. Perry sent it out Friday.
right. In fact, I emailed it to their secretary, and she passed it on to the commissioner, and their auditors Friday, so.
and they will be coming
I would
on the
suggest
11th,
that
right?
Ms. Perry
To
reach
make
out.
the
They were
presentation?
invited, yes.
I would suggest she reaches out to them. I think at this point in time, I'd like to, with the council president's permission, ask Ms. Perry to reach out for them and tell them, time is of the essence to get this information.
As soon as
We're on
possible, yeah.
Now, what's our legal position? Should they give us nothing? Or should they not be responsive enough?
I mean, if they give you nothing, you're kind of working in a vacuum, but it's your complete decision as to what you want to set their budget at. So it's probably in their best interest to give you something, so hopefully they will.
I already have the 2019 budget.
Right.
That one they gave us, so, on Friday, so,
Did you get that?
yeah, that was, they gave it to Angel.
Oh, okay.
So I will scan it and give it to everybody tomorrow. This way you'll have that one at least, but that, like you said, I have no guarantee that they're gonna give us
Right,
anything
you
else.
said that earlier, yeah.
You want this?
Is the 2018 and
18 and
2017 public anywhere?
They're definitely public documents.
It may be on their website, you know, I'll look. If it is, I'll download it and send
I
it to
would
you.
rather go directly to them and have them provide.
Okay.
And then, just to be specific, we want 2018 and 2017.
And the audits.
Well, you'd only get the audit on 2017 because they're working on
18
2018.
18's not done yet.
So the audit for 2017 and the budgets for
The last 2
17,
years.
18, and you have 19.
I have 19.
Okay.
That, I believe that's what we
What I
already
asked
requested.
for, yeah.
Okay.
That budget has capital items in it too?
Councilman?
Yeah, I was going to, Councilman Wendell's, well, I'm just move on to the next comment. We good, Jim?
Yeah, I'm good, thank you.
As a matter of fact, Council President, if I may, I'd like to ask Councilman Wendell, can you give us a preview of what is going to be going down at the redevelopment meeting tomorrow night?
Tomorrow night is just the same agreement that we voted on here, interlocal services agreement it's basically a repayment agreement for the bonds. And there is another ordinance on just to start the acquisition process, at least allow negotiations to occur. And there'll be an executive session to discuss the developers that we've been vetting out with the intent of trying to make a presentation for the meeting of the 4th. So.
And, Council President, if I may, to our business administrator, I didn't email you this, but I'm sure you have an answer for this. I guess, electric car stations at the mall.
Oh, yeah.
They have proceeded in a very rapid, do you have any knowledge on who owns this and how any of this is going to affect, you just pull your car up and plug it, I don't.
That's how it works. Pull your car up and you use them.
And whose are these?
They're owned by the mall. The mall came in, they got it's privately owned and operated. A lot of malls throughout the state have been installing them now. And I think they were provided to them through a grant from Tesla. And they came in and filed for their permit and installed them. So you could, if you have an electric car, you meet the connection criteria of that, you can pull up and utilize the units. I know Mr. Wendell.
Go shop for a little bit.
Are you putting money in the little
No, there's no
coin thing
cost.
and spinning
No.
it? and-
No, there's no cost.
Right now.
Plug it in.
The mall pays for it. They pay the electric bill. Tesla provides the
Charging
chargers.
stations.
And what it is it's a luring mechanism to bring people into the mall.
But it's far
Ideal.
from the mall.
Yeah.
It's a good
yeah.
hike.
Yeah, it's.
I mean, in.
Good exercise.
Yeah.
But if you've
East
seen them,
Brunswick moving.
Menlo has them, Bridgewater has them. They're all in a kind of far off area, but if you drive by Menlo during the day, you'll see 5 or 6 cars parked there.
Really?
All right.
Oh, yeah.
I may stand corrected. Both Raj and the mayor have told me that there is a charge to utilize them. Raj knows from other malls.
Yeah.
Really?
So, well,
It was free.
nothing, so
I'm
te-
told
the
it's about
Tesla,
$6 for
yeah,
a full
the
charge.
Tesla chargers, they connect to your account. So if you have a Tesla
Oh,
car,
yeah.
you already have an account, it automatically does it through the app. You don't have to actually put in a credit card or anything like that. You just plug in your car, it charges to your account.
And they are, they're superchargers, which is a much quicker charge than the regular charges that you often see, or the one that you would do by charging your car in your own home port, which would take much longer. So it is and it's supported by Tesla. I think you can get an adapter if you don't have a Tesla for it to be utilized for non-Tesla cars. So it's not just a Tesla. But the goal for Tesla has been to put them on most of the major commercial corridors, since that's the easiest places for people to find on their maps. And it's a boom for the malls
because it gets people, while they're waiting, the 20, 30 minutes for the charge to shop.
So it'll be on Google Maps, I think, too, right? Saying where they are?
It'll definitely be on the Tesla app.
Absolutely.
Okay. Anyone else for the good of the cause?
Just one thing, the Daisy Breakfast is coming up.
Oh.
You know, I think, what is it, 2 weeks from now?
Mm-hmm.
Sunday.
The 24th.
24th?
March
So,
25th.
Yeah, you know,
March
big
24th.
event
So it's a whole
for
month.
Daisy every year. So come on out and support, it's a great event.
Sunday morning, the 24th.
You see, it looks like, from what I can tell you, it seems like half the community is there every year,
Yes,
so.
good event.
Anything, it went to the foundation. I don't even know.
Anyone else? Okay, seeing none, I ask for a motion for adjournment.
Move to adjourn.
Second?
Second.
Everyone in agreement?
Aye.
Have a good night.